This is a story about Dewi Evans, brilliant roofer, devoted family man, and all-round good egg.
He'd do anything as well for you. They would give you your last tenner. They would. Even though he didn't have any money, he'd give you his last pound. They would. He was good like that. His heart was in the right place. Even from a young age, and that's what he always did. He always wanted to use his hands.
And you hear this a lot, but he genuinely was one of those people that nobody I ever met had a bad word to say about him. He was just so well loved and liked by everybody.
So we met in September 1995. I had just come back from my gap year living in France. One afternoon, met up with a few friends, went for drinking round Liverpool, and we just managed to wind up in Slater's bar on Slater Street in Liverpool.
I think I was about 17 and a half, about 18, just starting to drive, and he was my mate's cousin, and he lived on the farm down the road. I'd heard about him but never met him, and then once we started driving, we ended up together, and then it just started from then.
We were sat outside drinking. A little while later, Dewi, Johnny, Jez, a couple of the guys arrived, as that was their regular haunt after finishing work. It was a hot day, we were sat outside. It was just one of them things. I just remember that I kept looking over him, you know, liked what I saw, whatever, flush, but he was doing the same. Between my group and his group, there was this old vagrant guy. Dewi had seen him about Liverpool before and spoken to him, but this guy just said, for God's sake, are you going to just keep looking, or are you going to go over and talk to the girl? Yeah, so we did, and that was, yeah. We went on a date again the next night, and he looked a bit smarter the next night. He wasn't in his work clothes. He'd been frog marched to, I don't know, George Henry or some shopping, expensive shop in Liverpool in that lunch hour to buy something respectable to go on a date with me the next night. Yeah, that was it. So that was, say, September 95.
I first met Dewi in 2002. And we sort of hit it off straight away, really. And I was only a young chap at the time and still finding my way in the industry and stuff, and he did an awful lot to help me and teach me quite a bit. And then obviously over the years I worked with him more and more, and my experience grew, sort of thing. But he taught me a massive amount about roofing and a lot of stuff which I've carried over into my roofing life, kind of thing.
Out of work, was he here? Was he ever not working? No, I'm messing, sorry.
He could just do anything. He was like that from he was a kid. We were kids, we'd be riding push bikes and stuff around. Not Dewi, he was driving cars and stuff round the field in the farm and fixing them and all sorts of stuff. Anything. He was, from a young age he wanted to do, he was welding and all sorts of stuff. When you were getting, things for your birthday at 14, he was getting welders and stuff, when you were getting toys or something or whatever like that a bit younger. He was having a welder and the stuff, and then he was welding stuff in the garage and making stuff, and even from a young age, and that's what he always did. He always wanted to use his hands, and no matter what it was, it was just there. He was a clever lad, because his brain with maths and stuff was really quick, but you didn't see it. you know, when he was working stuff out, it was there like that, the measurements and stuff, and you were still like, you know, trying to figure out how you were going to work it out, and he'd done it. He was quick in the head, but he just didn't see it, he didn't show it. It only if he liked to show that he was clever, in case people thought he was posh or something. I don't know. Yeah, he wanted to be one of the boys and graft, so he wanted to use his hands, but he was clever. He took the lead like a shot. As soon as he saw Johnny welding and that was it. You know, he was there. That's what he wanted. You know, you could see it straight away. You know, and he threw his heart into that. He just loved it. I mean, like I say, Steve was cleaning out the shed, and there's things in there that he's made, casting and stuff that they found that they don't know was in there. You know, buckets of casting sand with shapes and stuff he's made, and there's a couple of planters in there, I think, that he was making for somebody.
You know, the man would put himself down so much. So, you know, partly because he was so humble, but also partly because he just did not recognise how clever he really, really was. He worked hard and he did work a lot of weekends and stuff, but no, we did have lots of fun times outside of the work as well. Obviously, wanted to spend time with his kids. You know, we'd have Steve and Chris before our own kids come along. Even when our own kids did come along, they'd still be here at least every other weekend, extra time during the holidays, and yeah, you know, it's kids in the kids' world. He loved the kids. You know, Jez would laugh and say it's because he was more their size, but but yeah. To me, the first sign of him being ill was in about the July 2017. I could just remember one Sunday he was supposed to be getting up to go and do some job or other, and I went to wake him up, and he just said, "Oh, I'm tired, Karen. I'm just gonna have another hour." And I just thought, do you know what? If he's that tired that he's not getting up for work, I'm just gonna leave him asleep. So I just left him, and it just kept getting later and later. And then it was a Sunday. I'd got Sunday tea ready and went to wake him up, and he got up, came down at his tea, and he said, "I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm still tired." Go back to bed then. I said, "Your body's obviously trying to tell you it's had enough, it needs a break. Go." At that point, I rang the doctors and made him go to the doctors because he wouldn't have anything to do with doctors otherwise.
Thing with Dewi, he'd never go to doctors. Never. He never went to doctors. Never. I knew something was wrong because he started having the days off, and he never had a day off. He worked 7 days a week, 24/7. He didn't. And all of a sudden he started having the day off here and there, but he never said nothing. Never said nothing, you know. And he always wanted to work late, all the time. He, you know, he'd say to me, "Look, it's up at 6. I mean, I need to go home. Don't, you know, I've got things to do." "Oh yeah, it's right. You can go. I'll stay." But I think he only wanted to stay because he knew there was something wrong, and he didn't want to go home and sit and it'd be on his mind. If he was working, then it wasn't on his mind, it was taking his mind away. You know, he was really far on before we all knew. It bugs me a bit because if he'd have said something to somebody earlier, then he might still be here.
So doctors sent for him for blood tests, and the blood test came back that I think his white blood count that was just totally out, but they just thought it could have just been a one-off sort of thing. The first doctor we saw was like a blood doctor, and then it just sort of kind of snowballed from there.
I used to go down twice a week to see him, and you could see him, yeah. It was just nothing. His arms were like bloody, you know, matchsticks. You know, it was gaunt, and you knew, you know, even before they'd given the diagnosis, you could see it in him. There was, you know, and everybody's going, oh, it'll be all right. I'm thinking, it's not going to be all right. There's something serious going on here.
You know, he was shrinking before my eyes. I mean, this guy, you know, to me, he was a mountain of a man. He might have only had the small, short frame, but he was a mountain of a man, and he just shrunk. You know, they discovered the primary cancer was in his bowel, but by the time they did find it, it had spread to his liver, and he spread through his liver in just such a short space of time. Even the oncologist was shocked by the speed with which it roared through his liver. Yeah, literally about 10 days before he died, he went and had the PICC line thing put in to deliver the chemo or radio, whatever it was, where we were up to. And then we went in the next day for them to deliver the first dose, but before they do that, they take blood, something that you to do with the liver that has this, it's called bilirubin or something, and yeah, they were just so high that they said it would basically poison him and he'd die quicker if he had the radio. And yeah, they just delivered the blow that actually this is terminal. We're not, you know, there's nothing we can do, not even to prolong.
But then he went back again, and they were supposed to give him the test then, and they said there's no point because we're only going to give you 3 weeks to live. And it's like, you know, but I mean 3 weeks, it was, what, 3 days? Within that 3 days he was gone.
Week to 10 days later he passed away. It was, you know, it was that sudden in the, you know, once he hit that stage really where he stopped working and he was getting weaker, it literally, you know, it was weeks. I still have days now when I wake up and I think, wow, did that even really happen? What in that, you know, in that short space of time, it just, I have days now still, you know, 3.5 years later, where I just feel like I just actually can't believe that all happened.
You don't feel for yourself, do you? Or you don't feel for him, really? You feel for Karen, don't you? And the boys, yeah.
What I was going to ask was, what's it been like now?
It's hard. It's hard being without him. It's like, it was hard before COVID, but there was, you know, there'd be things before COVID, there would be things that I would do to just sort of recharge and keep going. Sometimes one of the hardest things is just like, and it just sounds so utterly ridiculous, just not having somebody to sort of say, I think, look, this is what we'll have for tea tonight, or should we do that? It's just one of those stupid little things really, but yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, the house, the sheds, the garden's still filled with his stuff. Yeah, still can't park on my own driveway because his broken down van is still there until really recently. I'm sure really, it's definitely within the last year, but it's probably over 6 months. Yeah, when we kind of just sort of got it together to go in his shed. Yeah, it's like stacked to the roof, tins of God knows what. Yeah, buckets of what to me was rust, buckets of rust.
I don't think about him as much in the day. It's only at night I think about it. When I've got nothing to think about. Spent more time with him than I spent, with the wife, most of the time. That dream I always had in our head that we were going to be the two grumpy old men sat on the wooden bench, when we were bloody 70 or 80, just slagging everybody off. It's gone, isn't it? That's gone now. He's robbed that, and from me. You know what I mean? I'll have to find somebody else to do it now. But that's what people used to say. I'll be used to, two grumpy old men will be sat there on a bench, bloody putting the world to right. That's not going to happen now, and that's what's upsetting, So.
Bye.